Is it? Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Now you can hear me. What I was saying was that you were probably hearing part of the pre-show before the show because my audio interface isn't back yet and it is still out for service. I don't know what's taking so long, but I don't have all my automated stuff, so I'm like pushing buttons. Anyway, whatever. We're here. How y'all doing today? Greetings. You guys want to see this? We'll come back to that. You don't want to see that yet. We'll look at that later. I want to catch up. It's been a little while. I feel like it's been forever. Let me just see what's going on here in the chat room. Today's show is going to be, just FYI, long. I'm going to run this out as just one long show. We're going to go through a tour of the body. We're going to go through a tour of the menus. But if you have to step out at any time, don't worry about it. What I will be doing is taking today's show and slicing it up into a bit of more bite-sized chunks and re-uploading those ASAP so you can catch them at any time. And of course, if you are watching live, if you hold on to this URL, you will be able to still see it if you just want to come back to the live show at any time. Just FYIs, that's the way that works. So first, let's just do a quick little chit-chat in the chat room and see what's going on here. Ben 5 Shuttle, the wait is killing you. I'm so sorry to hear that. Having to wait until 21:30 UK time is the nicest possible way. Well, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Let's see. Jake, greetings. You want one's precious. It's precious. It's pretty precious. It is definitely pretty fun. Shark, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see here. And as always, guys, if you are, just in case you're new to the channel here, if you want to get my attention, as you can see, many people have done on the screen here, just type at PhotoJoseph in front of it. That will put it in red on my screen, and I know you have a question for me. I will be bypassing most things that don't have that so that you can chat amongst yourselves, and I don't need to drop into it. Sean liked the music for today. Excellent. Burnsteck, I'm very well, thank you. Shark says, the great thing is I feel that I'm among friends, photographers, and videographers, and filmmakers. It's one of the best out there. Aw, that is awesome. Thank you very much. Looper, there you go. Ankan Debnath says, it's 3 a.m. in the morning out here, but when the notification reads PhotoJoseph, I'm supercharged. Well, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Thank you very kindly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, that is a hot S. This is the hot S. This is the hot S S1R. In fact, it is. Anything else in here? Tony Hill, hi from London. Great. Whoa, and a bunch more stuff at the end here. Everybody telling me that there's no audio. There we go. It's all good. There we go. Story of the hat. Oh, well, Shark. Shark wants to know what the story of the hat is. that's the story of the hat. I went full Monty. I don't know if it's going to stay. We'll see. It's an experiment. It's as you probably have noticed as I've leaned over to do things, the landing pad that affects men of a certain age has started to become more and more prevalent over the years. And I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I've never actually done it before, so this was a big kind of, ooh, am I going to really do this kind of a moment? And I did. And I don't know, maybe I'll let it grow back. I just did this last night. It's already prickly and clothes stick to it and stuff like that. Who else here has a shaved head? How often do you have to do a full-on shave to keep it smooth? I'm feeling like it's like an everyday kind of a thing, although I certainly don't want to do that. But there you go. Bring the comments back. We'll start the show in just a minute here. Duval says, bald doesn't stay unless it's nature or nurture, right? There you go. The wife is getting used to it, Shark. She's like, she looks at me, she's like, okay. I mean, it's not like I had long hair and went to this. You know, it was, what, a quarter of an inch or something like that, if that. So it's not, but it is different. It definitely is a different look. Hitesh India was wonderful. Thank you very much. Oh, and Burns likes the look. Well, excellent. You can pull it off because I already kept the hair very short. Well, there is that. Although it does require extra makeup. I'm going to be going through makeup at a faster pace here than I normally would. Okay. With that said, one of the reasons I'm killing time here, so I've been playing with this camera, for a while, and especially all day today. All day I've been in here digging through the menus, preparing for the show today, and I realized that I had chewed up quite a bit of battery, and I'm like, I only have one. I go, oh, I probably should charge this. And I actually, if all goes to pot, what I can do if the battery totally runs out, I can power the camera from the computer, but then I lose the interface on here, so I have to look at my screen, which is no big deal. It's just one of those little weird things. But anyway, with that said, how about we get this started, shall we? I think we should get this started. Oh man, this is exciting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited about this. Let's, oh, and incidentally, since I am going to be breaking this up into multiple pieces, the show, I will be doing some kind of odd start and stops for the live audience, which will turn and make more sense when it's edited. But if you see me go, and we'll see you next time, or watch us in the next video, and then stare at the screen, and then I come back, it's not, I didn't like max headroom freeze, it's just that so that I can edit around it. Make sense? Makes sense. So let's get this thing started, shall we? Good morning, good afternoon, greetings everybody. I am PhotoJoseph and I have my hands on the brand new LUMIX S1R. This isn't actually shipping yet, and if you're wondering why on earth some guy on YouTube has his hands on one of these, I am a LUMIX ambassador. I am close and intimate friends with the people at Panasonic, and I was very fortunate to be able to take one of these home with me for just a couple days after a training meeting that we had last week, where I got to get my hands on this quite a bit. Spent some time working with resellers, other YouTubers, other folks out there to ensure that everybody has a great experience with it, and I am fortunate enough to be able to take one home with me. So what I am showing you here today is a completed body. Everything about this is supposed to be final product. The software that I will be showing is not final product. It is version 0.7 of the interface of the operating system, the firmware, if you will. I will not be showing things like autofocus or anything like that because the stuff isn't final yet, but we will be going through the menu system itself and exploring what is in there. The menu system has been completely redesigned, largely redesigned, let's say. There are some new functions in here that you guys are going to love, and that's what I want to take you through. Again, if you're watching this live, you are going to see the entire show start to finish because that's just the way what live works, and if you're not watching this live, then, well, it'll be cut up into slices and dices, and if you are watching live and you have to step away, don't worry about it. We'll get you covered. All these pieces will be uploaded again. So let's start with a physical tour. Let's see here. Let me get my overhead camera set up here and realize I got to zoom this back out a little bit because what I want to do is start with a little side by side. That little baby camera sitting next to it is, let's make sure that's focused. That little baby camera sitting next to it is the G9. That's the G9 with the 12mm f1.4 next to the LUMIX S1R 50mm f1.4 lens. This lens is huge. It's a beast. We'll be talking about that lens in a bit, but first we're going to focus on the body, and I just wanted to show you a side-by-side comparison. And in fact, let me do a couple different angles here. So for those of you who are used to the G9, you can see the difference. So it's clearly a bit wider there for the S1. It is definitely a bit deeper, as you saw. The grip, let's actually get the backs aligned right about so. The grip protrudes out a bit more, so you do have a larger surface to grab onto. For anyone who thought that the G9 or the GH5 cameras were a little bit small in your hands, you'll definitely appreciate the larger size of this. But of course, it's larger because it's full frame, so everything has to be bigger. That's just kind of the way it works, right? But back to the overhead view here. but it does mean that you do have a larger grip for your hand on there. If we look at the height, let's just put them on their side so you can see them. Actually, we'll do it back to back like this. Does that work? Maybe do it this way. Back to back like that, you can kind of see the height difference. So the S1R is clearly a bit taller as well. And effectively, what this really comes down to, when you look at the two cameras side by side and you really look all over them, the S1 and the S1R, and incidentally the bodies are identical minus the badging, so all the real differences are internal. What this looks like is a big, fat, swollen version of this. It's like you took a piece of rice and dropped it in water overnight and it just got bigger everywhere. It is just a larger version of the G9. Now, there are some differences in the buttons, and we'll take a look at those, but it is, for all intents and purposes, very much a larger version of the G9 there. So, with that said, let's get into the nitty-gritty on this thing. All right, real quick here, I'm going to reposition my camera again, zoom that lens in a little bit, get a nice tight view on there. For those who care, I'm actually using the 50 to 200 lens up here today, which is great because it actually focuses as closely. I've used the 100 to 300 before, the old 100 to 300, it doesn't focus as close, so this 50 to 200 works out great for this sort of thing. Kind of cool. Anyway. All right, let's just run through it top to bottom. So you have your power switch over here. Thing I'll point out about the power switch, the way it is here, is that, and there's no battery in it right now, is that it is quite protected. So there's virtually no way for you to bump the power on or off accidentally. Unlike on some of the other bodies where the power switch might be a little bit more accessible, this one is a bit recessed, it's hidden, it's kind of blocked, so it's, like I said, pretty much impossible to hit accidentally. You have across the top here, same buttons. Let's stop shaking the table now. You have across the top here the same buttons you've seen before, white balance, ISO, and the exposure compensation button, of course your trigger, and a dial up front for controlling aperture or whatever you feel like controlling from there. Under your thumb you have another rotational dial, again programmable. Most commonly you'd be using this for aperture, this for shutter speed, but you can set that to pretty much anything you'd like. And then we have our focus control here, which is more of a back button, so we'll take a look at that on the back. Over on the left hand side you have your command dial. Now this has essentially the same commands we've seen before: manual for still photography, manual shutter priority, aperture priority, program, IA, full manual video or creative video mode, and then C1, C2, and C3 programmable modes. I want to point out though something about the fact that it has an IA, that's the intelligent auto mode. I wasn't really aware of this until a reseller that I was working with this week mentioned it. He was surprised to see a fully automatic mode on a camera of this caliber. And I guess, and I don't use really high-end Canons, Nikon, so I'm not really familiar with it, but apparently, at least on some of those cameras, there isn't a fully automatic, really make it easy mode, kind of the dummy button mode. And he was appreciating that that was there because it means that some of his customers who may be higher end customers, they've got money to spend, they just want to have the latest and greatest, but they're not really going to learn how to use it, will be able to use this camera. The flip side of that means that you, as your professional photographer using this gear, if you want to hand it to someone to take a picture, whether that's a family member, a friend, you wanted to get a snapshot of you or something, you can put the camera into fully automatic. And now that I think about it, actually, back when I shot Canon, I remember I had a 1DS Mark III, and there was no easy fully automatic mode. I had to flip a bunch of switches to be able to hand it to someone to make it easy. So that's kind of cool. I'm glad to see that that is on there. Again, I didn't really realize that that was an issue, but apparently it is. So anyway, across the top, that is pretty much it. I haven't shown you the light button yet. We'll come to that in a moment. In fact, we're going to go next to the battery, only because now I need the battery. So that means I got to put it in it. So here's the battery. Let's compare this. It is a new battery. This is the first time we're seeing this battery from the LUMIX series. It is larger if we look at the battery out of the G9 or GH5 or the entire G series for many, many years. It is a larger cell. So let's get a close-up of this. And get that right into the right spot of frame. Don't worry, I will check focus on that. There we go. So you can see this is a taller battery, significantly taller. If you kind of put them side by side here, they are virtually identically sized in every way, shape, and form except for the height. It is a slightly different shape, so you can't accidentally drop one of these batteries in the wrong camera, but it is essentially the same physical size except that it is taller, obviously bigger, higher capacity. So that, as you would expect, just pops into the bottom of the camera like so. Like so. I knew that. Snaps in. And away we go. All right, let's get back into the top. So again, powered on, flip the switch over here, switch that guy on, and now we have power to the camera. So the other thing I hadn't shown you yet was this button here. This illuminates the back LCD, which is what we've seen in the G9 before. Again, this is kind of carrying over from the G9. But here's something really cool. Watch this. Let me flip this up like so. And let's focus that. I'm going to turn off some of the house lights in here. And then I'm going to push that button on the top of the camera again. And look at this. We have illuminated buttons. The Q button, the return button, display button, the delete button, and the play button are all backlit illuminated on this camera, which is just so cool. It makes it so much easier to find that button in the dark of night looking through. The fact that those are illuminated, really, really neat feature. And you can control in the settings whether you want those to be on kind of all the time, how long they're on, and so on. So you have some options for those in there. But let's go back to the back of the camera and take a look at what's here. All right, running through the buttons again. So we now have a dedicated AF on button, an autofocus on button. The G9 kind of put that inside of the focus selection button. So now we have a dedicated AF on button inside of the focus selection switch, not button I should say. So that's your focus selection. Are you going to single, continuous, or manual focus on there? We now have inside of that a button to choose what focus mode you want. So you'll have your face and body detection, and you may have heard about this if you saw the press release info. There's an animal detection mode, tracking, and all the other modes, all the other focus modes that we have in there. So we have access to those from there, a dedicated button. We have the joystick on here, and here's kind of a neat thing. Let me switch this over to another display mode. The joystick allows me to move not only left and right and up and down as before, but also diagonally. So that's a new feature in this, the fact that we can move the cursor diagonally. You have a Q button, a dedicated Q button, brings up the quick menu. This quick menu has been redesigned, so that looks quite a bit different on there. Menu set button as before, the jog wheel. So if we go into the menu system, the jog wheel in here works just as before. So you can spin it, you can push up or down on that to get to it. And while I'm in here, I am realizing this is very, very dark looking. So I'm going to find this display and turn this up a bit because this is too dark. Let's see here, LVF display. Nope, that's not the right one. It's funny, it must have reset because I know I had turned this up before. And give me just a moment here. Here, I'll just do it like this. You don't have to look at that. And where is that LVF monitor display set? No. It's funny, I found it before. Of course, now I can't find it. I think it's so dark because it's the lens cap is, well, lens cap's on, it's pointing down, so it thinks it's a really dark room. So I guess it doesn't have an ambient sensor out here. It's kind of interesting. It must just be basing the ambience off of what's in the lens. Let's see here, come on, where are you? Illuminated buttons on, no, that's not what I want. We have quite a few people watching live today, excellent. For those who may have just tuned in, we are of course touring through the body of the S1. I'm currently trying to figure out where to turn the brightness of the screen up because it's just too dark to see on screen right now. And we will be going through the menus later on. So the thing is, since everything has been rearranged, I am not super familiar with everything, where everything is right now. So give me just a moment to find this. So funny, I know I had it before. Yikes. Where is it? Must be in a different menu. Oh, yeah, I was in totally the wrong page. Here we go. Monitor backlight, auto off. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, let's go back to it. Now you can see that much better. Excellent. It was incidentally, if you're looking for that, the monitor backlighting button in there. So you've already seen now that the menus do look a bit different, but we'll be spending some time in that later. Okay, so as I was saying, push the menu button to get to your menu settings. Just as before, this jog shuttle wheel serves as both a rotational wheel and a click left, down, up, and right, so you can control all your settings like so. Return button as before, display button to cycle through display modes on the camera, and a delete button, which is also programmable in the shooting mode, and I have it currently set to turn the level on and off in there. Going up a little bit higher here, you have a dedicated record button, so that's moved from the top of the camera where we found it before to the back here. You have a play button. This is a neat feature. This switch right here, this lock, allows you to lock certain functions, and you can program which functions you want. So now that I've locked it, if I hit the menu button, it says lock lever. So there's a few things that are set into it now. Let's see, the Q menu I can still access. Display menu I can't because it's locked, but that is completely programmable. You can customize what you want to be locked or not locked with that lock switch at the top. Pretty cool. You have your diopter adjustment here. You can just kind of see that in there. So if you're wearing eyeglasses, you can adjust that, or if your eyes just need some adjustment. And then here you've got the LVF button that toggles between the live viewfinder here, the LCD here, or auto mode, so it automatically switches back and forth. And just like on the G9 over here, you have the V mode that zooms in and out of the viewfinder. So when you're looking through the viewfinder, you have this huge field of view, bigger, brighter, higher resolution than anything in any Lumix camera ever before. And you have the ability to zoom that out to make it a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller again. And the reason for that is if you're wearing eyeglasses and so your eyes are farther away from the frame, you can make it a little bit smaller so you can still see everything. Super nice feature. That was introduced in the G9. Stoked to see that on here as well. Let's flip it around. Let's go to the side here next. And once again, let's do a focus check. The side where we access the card slot, this is different because it now has a locking card door. So instead of just pushing it out, you slide down and then push it over, and that pops up. Once in here, you will see the pauses are so I can focus. You will see that we have our QXD slot. So there's that guy in there, the big fat QXD slot. And here we have a standard SD card. So both of those in there. One thing I'll point out too that actually kind of confused me for a moment, the numbering position of these has changed. So now the bottom slot is labeled number 1, the top slot is labeled number 2. The only reason that matters is if you are setting your controls in here of where you want the images to be recorded. Say you want photos to go to one card, video to go to another. The slots 1 and 2, I didn't read the description of it. I just thought of it as slot 1 and 2, and I ended up having them reversed because the numbers are reversed. So just one of those little things. Those numbers are reversed in there. All right, let's go to the side here. On the side, you'll find behind these doors a remote access for a little cable remote control, same as we've seen before. Behind here, you've got your microphone and headphone jack, and in here you have HDMI, the full-size HDMI, and USB Type-C. I'm glad to see this USB-C has come back. I never actually really learned why, but the G9 has a different slot. It has this type of USB instead of the USB-C, whereas the GH5 and GH5S both have the USB-C. So I'm glad to see that back in there. Let's see, anything on the bottom worth noting? Not particularly. This flap comes off. This flap comes off so that you can connect a battery grip to the bottom. This, of course, is your battery door with a little hole here if you're running power through it, and we already saw where the battery goes into there. Let's look at the front, and in fact, let's just take the lens off. And now, for the first time, we see this sensor. And I'm just going to do this real quick. I want to position this next to the Micro Four Thirds just to show the difference in the sensor size in there. Obviously, a massive difference. Double the width, double the height. Full frame is 4 times the surface area of Micro Four Thirds. Much, much bigger. There you go. So if you've never seen that before, now you have. Oh, while this is off, I'll do this real quick so it's easier to see the buttons. You have your lens release button over here. Traditionally on Micro Four Thirds, it's been here, so it's in a different position. That definitely takes a little getting used to. 2 programmable buttons for things like depth of field or the focus push-in button, I forget what it's called now, the target focus button. You can turn that on or off. And then here you have a mechanical switch that is a function button. That allows you to put something like, the 2 best uses I found for it are the silent mode. So you just flip a mechanical switch and the camera goes silent, so it goes electronic shutter, all beeps turn off. Or the going into the night mode. If you find yourself shooting at night often, flip that and everything goes red, which is really cool, the night mode there. So that's another option that you have. Other than that, I think the last thing to look at is the LCD panel itself. I know this has been a big point of discussion. It is not the articulating LCD, it is a 3-axis LCD, and what that means is it flips out like so, it flips down like so, and if you want to flip it out sideways, there's a little release hatch here, and then it opens up like that. So there's your positions for that. Now once it's out here, you can even pull it out and do other things with it as well, tilt and so on. So it does get into quite a few angles, but what it does not do is fully flip around. It is not a fully articulating LCD, so you cannot vlog with this camera, although I gotta say, it would be a good way to build up the arms. I mean, it would be good for that, but otherwise it is definitely not a vlogging camera. But yeah, see, that's the LCD panel that you have on there. And I believe that is everything on the camera itself. So with that said, let's jump out of the camera body and move into the camera lens. All right, before we move into the lens, let me just scroll back and see what's going on in the chat room because there is a ton happening in here. I want to see if there's questions that I want to address. And let me bring this up. Let's see here. Your video is done. Bart said, just wrapped a 6-day shoot in Houston using the Ursa Mini 4.6 GH5 in the Pocket 4K. Shot 10 terabytes of footage. Oh my goodness. That is a lot. Oh, Patrick asked the important question, did I have barbecue in Austin? Yes, I did. Went out to the Salt Lick, which is kind of one of those like super famous, everybody knows it's way out in the middle of nowhere kind of places. Brisket was to die for. If you weren't following my Instagram stories, then you didn't get to see it, but that is where I posted that. Bart got his Wire light but hasn't used it yet. Thank you for telling me that I could peel the sticker off of the case. That was brilliant. I thought it was a sticker on there. It was just a cover. Martin says, I'm very interested already, but I think it'll be even better once the lenses are faster than their MFT counterparts. By faster, I assume you mean like faster aperture. Sure, there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages. Incidentally, if you are going to be at WPPI on Wednesday at 1 p.m., I will be doing a presentation comparing Micro Four Thirds to full frame for the Lumix cameras, Lumix G versus Lumix S, what the differences are, and when you would choose one over the other. If you aren't going to be at WPPI, I am hoping to, I can't promise this, but I'm hoping that I can just record that session and then I can share that with you. And if not, then I'm sure that the people at Panasonic would have no problem with me doing that presentation again for you live here. So one way or another, I'm sure you'll get to see it, but if you happen to be at WPPI Wednesday at the Panasonic booth at 1 p.m., I will be there doing that. Okay. All right, I see I scroll back pretty far here. We're still talking about my hair. Let's see. Okay, Fenwick. Chris Fenwick, ladies and gentlemen, very good friend of mine, excellent editor, is posting a question that he knows the answer to very well. Does this new camera shoot video? It would be great if you had a video to show the audience. Why, yes, as a matter of fact, it does. He knows that because I shot some video last week, sent him the video, he has edited it. He sent me a link about 2 minutes before I went live to preview the edit that he has done, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. So I'm not going to show it to you now, but as soon as that is ready, that will be published and live, and you will see a video shot with this. It's all handheld. It is, I'm not going to give anything else away. It was just very ad hoc thing, but it was kind of fun, and I'm assuming that Chris is excited about it, or else he wouldn't be talking about it here. Bikey-O-Matic says, this is a bloody huge camera. This it is. How big compared to the GH5? Do you need new lenses? Oh, absolutely. Maybe you missed the beginning of it, but yes, or maybe I hadn't gotten to it yet before you asked that question. Absolutely. It's full frame versus Micro Four Thirds. So the sensor is 4 times the surface area. Your Micro Four Thirds lenses will not fit. They don't work that way. Totally different system. Let's see here. Shark, wonder why they decided to move the command dial to the left side. It's just like on the G9. The G9, it's on the left-hand side. So it's more like the G9 than the GH5, by far. And tuning in from Greece, awesome. Scrolling down randomly as YouTube does, not awesome. I think we're almost there. Yeah, that was almost the end. Let's see here. Trevor says, I think the thing I'm most interested in is battery life for photo and video, and how are the colors compared to the current Panasonic cameras. Can't answer any of those questions until we have shipping firmware to compare against. Construction Podcast, tuning in from Greece. Thank you. Shark, S1R and S1 are too much above my budget, but is OLED EVF the world's highest resolution viewfinder screen in a DSLR? Yeah, I believe that is a correct statistic. Looking through the viewfinder of this thing is insane. 120 hertz, 120 frame per second refresh rate. It's incredible. And the G9 was an incredible viewfinder. Heck, the GH5 was an incredible viewfinder. The G9 went better, and this is better still. It's really incredible what's happening with the EVFs these days. Shahan, will you be adding to or replacing your Micro Four Thirds gear? Excellent question. I will not be replacing anything. I am very fortunate in that as a Lumix ambassador, I will most likely, I don't even know for sure, but I will most likely eventually have one of these to use full time. I will, however, not be using this instead of my GH5 and G9 unless the situation calls for it. I, for one, like the smaller, lighter weight gear. That's why I switched to Micro Four Thirds in the first place. I will certainly use it in the studio. If I'm going to go do anything that, I don't know, like let's say some epic landscape kind of thing where I know I'm going to want to do all kinds of crazy Photoshop, then sure, and that's not even what I do, but if I did that, I would definitely use the full frame, and really more than for the full frame, than it'd be for the higher resolution, the 47 megapixels in this camera. Oh, that's a lot. Let's see here. Hitesha says, Lumix G and Lumix S both seem to be targeted to different target audiences. You are correct, sir. How much heavier does it feel compared to the GH5? Without a lens, I didn't bring a scale because you can look that stuff up, obviously, but here's the GH5S. Without a lens, it's heavier, but not massively heavier, but it is heavier. Where it gets heavier is when you add this insane 50mm f1.4 lens. We'll be talking about that in a moment, and we'll talk about why it is as big as it is, because it seems a little bigger than it needs to be, but there's a reason for that. All right, last one. Kenneth says GH5S with the Viltrox EFM2 and Sigma 1835, et cetera, et cetera. When I use the focus wheel on the Ronin, it takes forever to get from one end to the other. Any idea why? I don't. Sorry. You are talking about mixing 4 different manufacturer parts in there, of which I have not played with, so no. Unfortunately, I could not help you with that. Okay. You know what, I need water. Give me a moment here. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this and put like a 1-minute countdown here so I can run off and get water. Anybody who tunes in doesn't wonder what in the heckers is going on. So I'll be right back. What do you think so far? Oh, and the audience can still hear me. Hi, audience. Forgot you can still hear me. So I just don't have the control that I used to have. I don't. And it's still not back from repair. I don't know what's taking so long. They haven't responded to my emails going, where's my box? All right. Woohoo. I know you can hear me, Bikeo. I just realized that. It's fine. It's fine. I wasn't saying anything you shouldn't have heard anyway. All right. Turn this off for now. In fact, I'm also going to pop this battery back on the charger. What a boneheaded maneuver. I'm sitting here doodling away, and I go, oh, the battery's getting really low. I only have 1 battery. I'm going to need it for the show. Oops. Okay, that's at 0. Excellent. Let's go back to... There we go. Try not to knock that over. That'd be bad. Alrighty. Let us return. Let me just clean this up a little bit and get rid of this stuff. All right. Anything else in here? Nope. Let's go. Welcome back. We are currently exploring the LUMIX S1R with the 50mm f1.4 lens. So we just went through the whole body tour. If you missed that, then scroll down below or scroll to the end. At the end, you'll see the link back to watch this video about the body. For now, we're going to focus on this lens. This is going to be a quick one. There's not a whole lot to look at on here, but I do want to discuss the elephant in the room. This being the elephant because it's huge. Why is this lens so big? And let me just to really put this in a little bit more perspective, take off the lens shade and the lens cap. The lens cap, by the way, is a 77mm lens cap. Same filter thread on all 3 of the new LUMIX S Series lenses. This is a 50mm f1.4. On the Micro Four Thirds side, this is the 12mm f1.4, significantly, massively different size. Obviously, no real relation because it's Micro Four Thirds versus full frame. But if you happen to be familiar with the Canon 50mm f1.2 lens, you will probably recognize that this is larger than that, and yet it's 1.4 versus 1.2, and you're thinking, hold on a second, that doesn't make sense optically. Why is it so big? Well, here's why. Here's the thing that Panasonic has done with this lens. Their goal was to make this lens what they call a reference lens. This is the lens by which all other lenses will be judged. This lens is designed to be so good and so sharp, edge to edge, that it beats out everything else out there. That is the expectation, the hope, the intention for this lens. The MTF charts are already looking extremely, extremely good. The optics are larger than they need to be so that when you're shooting wide open at f1.4, you still have edge-to-edge sharpness. The lens elements in this thing are hand polished. It's kind of this whole insane hand polish process. There's more elements than there would need to be for something like this to keep the focus breathing to an absolute, virtually undetectable minimum. We will be doing some focus breathing comparisons later on down the line, but I've seen some samples already compared to other lenses, and the focus breathing is I will say it's essentially non-existent. You never want to say it's totally non-existent because somebody will find half a pixel that moves in and say, you lied to me. But it is essentially virtually non-existent focus breathing. It is a phenomenal lens, extremely sharp. It's heavy, it's big, but it is amazing. So that all said, let's take a quick look at some physical properties of this lens. Let's see, I'll rotate this way. That'll work. Make sure we're focused on that. There's not much to look at on here. So you've got your aperture ring, which can be in A mode, so for automatic, and that way you could then control your aperture from the front dial here if you so desired, or you can do it mechanically starting at 1.4, racking all the way to f16. You can hear the stops in there. Their third stop jumps in here. However, I will point out that just like the newer Leica lenses on the G series, it is actually a stepless aperture. You're feeling bumps in here when you're moving it mechanically. However, if you are shooting in video mode and you're shooting in shutter priority, so the camera is choosing the aperture for you, it will transition through the apertures totally seamlessly. So you get that smooth transition as the aperture opens or closes. So that is something that is in all of the S series lenses. The next big one that you want to see is right here. This is one that I know a lot of you are going to be crazy excited about. This is your focus ring. Just like any other LUMIX lens, it spins and spins indefinitely. This is a fly-by-wire or drive-by-wire focus. However, this is something called a clutched focus. I can do this. And now I have a linear mechanical style focus. You'll hear it actually hits the edge. It's what we call a soft stop. It's not a hard stop because I get to the edge here and the dial keeps moving, but the focus does not. And you can actually hear it physically bump. So it is a soft stop hitting that edge, and it is a linear ramp in there. It is not a linear, I guess you wouldn't call it a ramp. It's a linear focus control. So that is phenomenal. For those who want that more manual style control in the lens, this has that. Now here's something extra cool that I will tell you that we'll look at how to set this up in the menus when we get into that part of it. But not only do you have this clutched lens, you also have a linear focus control in software that not only can you make linear instead of the ramped, which is the normal way, you can actually define the rotation. So you can say from a 90-degree rotation to go from the farthest to the closest focus distance to a full 360-degree rotation. So if you want to put it on a manual focusing system, on a, what are these called again, the focus clutching, focus by wire. Sean, we had this conversation 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean, the ramping focus. Anyway, so you want to do that, you have that level of control. Follow focus system, that was it. Thank you, Sean. You have, we just had this discussion 5 minutes ago and couldn't remember it then either. You have the ability to program in software how much of a rotation you want, which is great. So if you're doing things like manual, forget about the focus pulling system. If you just want to manually do a front to rear rack, or you want to have it a much longer, you have that control. Super cool. So we'll look at all of that. Other than that, there's not really anything to show in the lens. We saw the lens shade. It's, you know, as you would expect, as big as the lens is, with again a 77mm front elements that is the same size between this lens, the 24-105, and the 70-200. All have the same 77mm front filter, and it's gorgeous. And that's about all there is to it. So with that, let's move on to the next stage of the show, which will be the menu system. All right, so quick little break again. Let's see what else is going on in the chat, if there was anything, and we will continue with the menus. Let's back on the charger. And Chris wants me to preview the video with the live audience. No, thanks. That's okay. We'll look at it. I'll look at it on my own. Look forward to seeing the first camera cages for the S1 and S1R. Those can be some pretty big cages. And Shark says cost of those X2 lenses are insane for the S1 and S2R. They're big, expensive lenses. They are, again, designed to be kind of best in class. These are not designed to be cheap lenses. The cool thing is, and I'm sure most of you who are watching this probably already familiar with this, but the camera was announced with a partnership with Sigma and with Leica to be developed for this S series mount. So other companies will be making lenses for this camera as well. There are, as far as I know, there's no actual lens announcements yet, other than commitments for how many of them they're going to be delivering this year. Sorry, I don't know exactly what that is, but there will be lenses coming from other manufacturers. Panasonic chose to come out of the gate with 3 very, very high-end lenses for it, but there will definitely, there's no question about it, there'll be cheaper lenses. Plus, something else worth noting. Okay, so the S mount itself is not new. Not to say that you're going to run out and buy any of the other S series lenses, because they are made by Leica and they cost like 3 times what these do. We actually, somebody brought I think it was a 75mm, F2 maybe? I don't know. Let's call it an F2. It was fast, 75mm Leica lens. It's like an $8,000 lens or something. Oh, it looks so good. It was so nice. It was just really, really remarkable. But there are already on the market S mount adapters for Canon and for Nikon, and I'm sure there's others too, but we had those in the preview. We had a Canon and a Nikon mount, so you could adapt any full-frame Canon, any full-frame Nikon lens to it. Somebody also had a Mamiya medium format lens going into a speed booster type of, so a focal reducer type of contraption adapting to it. And it resulted in, shoot, I want to say it was like a 56 or 60-ish millimeter f1.08 or something like, maybe it was definitely in the high 60s, f1.08 or f1.1, something along those lines. But it's a medium format lens, so it has a different look to it, different shape to it. It was just incredibly gorgeous as well. Obviously, you're full manual focus at that stage, but there are already, you already have the ability to adapt a bunch of different lenses to this body. So yes, there are 3 lenses from Panasonic. Yes, they're all expensive lenses. The 24-105 is the most economical, and that would be the kit lens, although it's a heck of a kit lens. If you're going to buy it, you definitely want to buy it as a kit though, because I think it's like $500 cheaper. It's quite a significant difference. But yeah, this 51.4, it's the money lens. You know, this is the beautiful big bad. Like I said, they're calling it a reference lens, the lens to which all others will be judged by. That is its purpose. So, with that, anything else in here? Oh, Tech Checker says any news on the Mac Mini? Yes, it came back while I was gone. It works. I got my Mac Mini back. So I shot a little extra video on that. So now I have a complete story start to finish. So I will edit that and put that together for you. But yes. My Mac Mini is back. It is functional. I haven't had time to run any tests on it. I plugged it in today, booted up, it works, and then I've been prepping for this all day, but it works. So thank goodness for that. Let's see here. Oof, and everything keeps scrolling off screen. Shark. So the S1R and S1 have linear focus. So again, yes, they have linear focus in software. Controllable. Amazing. So good. That's what you want for the Panasonic GH5. I know. We asked. We'll see what happens. Bike-O-Matic, I have the 42.5 f1.7 Lumix lens, very nice little lens, small, such a small lens, love it. And when I rotate the focus ring at some point, I can hear some metal squeak inside. Is the lens dead or on its way? Focus is fine otherwise. It might just be some gunk stuck in there, like a little grain of sand or something got in there, or maybe it just needs to be, like, if it's a really old lens, I could see maybe some of the grease or whatever is inside of it drying out. It's not, I would say especially because that is not, to my recollection, a weather sealed lens. If it has been through some seriously inclement weather, that might have affected it. It's not an expensive lens, so I don't know if it's really worth sending in for service or repair. But if you love the lens and it's, you know, it could be worth checking out whether getting a service is worthwhile. It might not be just based off the cost. I'm not totally sure. Jake, have I tried with the XLR1 yet? I have not, but the XLR1 is compatible with these cameras. I have not plugged it in. DeWalt Creative, that lens just gave me menopause on my guy. I mean that is a compliment. Getting hot flashes over there. Excellent. Shark, all Panasonic needs to do is with the firmware update, remove that crop factor for 60 FPS. Okay. All you need to do is remove crop factor, for 4K 60, 422 10-bit, allow unlimited recording. So the unlimited recording is most likely, and again, I don't have total details on why anything is or isn't, but it's most likely a heat issue. One of the reasons this camera is as big as it is heat dissipation. The thing does shoot 4K 60. It is a slight crop. I think on the S1R, I think it's like a 1.09 crop, so it's barely crop, but it is cropping a little bit. And you'll see when we get into the menus, you actually have other cropping options in there as well. But anyway, 422 10-bit, I think that's what's coming in the firmware update, but for 4K 30, 422 10-bit, I think that's right, and 422 10-bit out with 60p, but on the HDMI out, coming in a firmware update along with Vlog somewhere down the road, somewhere later this year. I don't think there's any commitment on the date on that or price as far as I know. So some of that stuff is coming. Not necessarily the full frame, but it's just, like I said, it's a slight crop, so it's not a huge crop. Okay. Camera Deal says, you mean L mount? I keep saying S mount. You're right, I do keep saying S mount, and I do mean L mount. You know why I keep saying S mount? Because there's an S right here. You're absolutely right, though. It is L mount, L mount, L mount, L mount, L mount, not S mount. Thank you very much. I'm going to, just to add into my other video, it's L mount, L mount, L mount, L mount, not S mount. I keep saying S because it says that right here. Thank you for correcting me. One of these days, I'll get that right. Let's see here. Hitesh says, I read somewhere there'll be 42 L mount lenses by 2020. Sounds awesome. So I have seen something like that. Hitesh says, are these 3 lenses weather sealed? Yes. Yeah, they all are. Yes. Ben5 Shuttle, apologies late to the show. How could you? What is the shutter button action like compared to the G9's hair trigger? It is the same. It is a hair trigger like on the G9. Very gentle, very subtle, very easy to take pictures, just barely, and it goes. So it is the same hair trigger on the G9. I will say now, having shot with both the G9 extensively and now the S1 or S1R a fair amount, I mean, you know, a few days, you get used to it. you know, it's definitely one of those, the first time you pick it up, you will get some misfires because it's so subtle, it's so soft, but you do get used to it. And I think the only misfires I get on the G9 anymore are when it's over my shoulder and is bumping against me, and I go, oh yeah, don't do that. Shark, at the Panasonic show, was there any news on the wide angle? This wasn't a show, it was a training thing, so nothing there to report. Okay, with that said, let's, Bikio's talking about the record limit due to tax regimes. That's a 29 record limit. He's talking about the 10-minute record limit, or I think that's what it is. I think that's right. Can't keep track of all of these things, people. Okay, let's put this battery back in. We'll see how long I can get away with before I have to plug it in. The only reason I don't want to plug it in right away is because when I plug it in to the computer to power it, and I have to choose a mode and enable tethering mode that allows me to still work with the camera, but I no longer see the display here. And that could very well just be a firmware thing, because I don't think that's the way it works on the G9, but it means I have to look at a display over here to see it. So it's just a little bit awkward. I'd like to be able to see it all on here, but we'll see what we get. Okay. Car Galaxy. Sorry, Joseph, forgot to. Well, you forgot to tag me there too, but that's okay. I see it this time. You must be why I skipped them. I did okay, here we go. I think this is your question. What about adapting these to micro four thirds, flange distance enough? It's not about flange distance, it's about size. The smaller sensor, the smaller lens size. Now, you're going to see something when we get into the menus later on about how the camera will operate if you do choose to use some slightly smaller lenses, but adapting micro four thirds down to it might be a bit too much. Now I'm not going to say it's technically impossible because I don't know. There certainly is, to my knowledge, is no adapter out there right now. If there was, you would only be able to use a small portion of the sensor. You couldn't use the whole sensor. So it would definitely not be an ideal situation, but I wouldn't count on that. Let's just put that out. Shark's testing, how long did the battery last? So when I got this body, the battery had, I think, 70% in it. Okay, let me actually back up. Last week when I was shooting with it, I shot all day, started with a full battery, and when I was done shooting, both still and video, throughout the day, I still had like 30% left or something. And I wasn't shooting nonstop, obviously, but I was shooting a bunch. The battery was great, you know, as good as at least as the G9 has been, which is a phenomenal battery. This one that I brought home with me, it had something like 70% on the battery when it was handed to me, and then I played with it, shot with it a bit over the weekend, and then I've been chugging through the menus all day long. It's been hooked up to the HDMI export. It's been going for hours, and I realized, oh, I'm at like 27%, and I've been trying to top it off. Oops. So, good battery. I can't give you any stats, and I couldn't anyway because it's not 1.0 firmware. So until we have that, I'm not going to give anything, because those are the kind of things that absolutely can change between, I think it's 0.7 or something that's in here now, and the 1.0 shipping. So lots can change in there. Battery life definitely being one of them. I seem to recall with the GH5 there was a pretty significant change. I might be misremembering, that was a while ago, but yeah, there's a big change. Okay, let us continue. So I need to swap a little cabling out here. Take that, put this, and plug this in. Let's get this charger out of the way here. Oh, there we go. That's funny. So the reason it lost audio, let me get the mouse off of here. The mouse was hovering over the audio on-off button because I had to turn the audio on earlier, and I dropped the cable on the trackpad and it went boom and it clicks it. So there you go. But we have audio back now. Okay. Shark says, as a LUMIX ambassador, will you get an S1 to test? I don't know which one I'm going to have. I'm much more interested in the S1R just because if I'm going to shoot something this big, I want the honking resolution. But I will get whatever they are able to provide. Kelster says, I'm a bit puzzled by your focus on the one battery you have. Are you able to power it by USB-C? Yes. So the only reason that I don't want to jump into that is because when I power it by USB-C, the way things are right now, it will. So first of all, you can't power. The battery has to be in there. It's a pass-through, so you're charging the battery, which is then powering the camera. And that's the same on the G9, so it has to have a battery in there. But when I plug it into the computer to charge it, which is the only way I can do it right now, I lose the menu on the back of the screen. And so you guys will still be able to see it. I can see it by looking at a screen over here, but I don't have it on the back of the camera, and I'd rather have that so I can touch, and it's just easier for me to see things that way. But I am probably going to lose that eventually, so we're going to have to go. Anyway, with all that said, let's get started here, shall we? And let me get this set up. And we'll move over a little bit. Get out of the way there. And here we go. And let me see, where is my battery? 19%. We'll see what we can do. If audio is choppy, just refresh the feed, but audio should be just fine. Upload is failing. Ooh, a couple people saying, let's see here. Let me check my status. Nope. Status is all good here. So just do a refresh. It could just be a YouTube thing. That does happen. But everything on my end is showing super good, so that's all I can do. Okay, all right, let's do it. Welcome back to this tour of the brand new LUMIX S1, in this case the S1R. We are now going to go through the menu system. I'm going to be going through these page by page. I'm going to focus only on the things that are new, not going to go through every single option in here. Otherwise, this would take a very, very long time, and as it is, it's going to take a while. So with that said, let's just get started. You'll be able to see the menu system at all times up here. Sometimes I'll go full screen to show you some things I want to show you, but for the most part, I'm going to be here looking at this, and you're going to be looking at that up there. So with that said, let's jump into the menu. First thing you'll notice is there is a new paging system in here. So you have these pages followed by tabs, and the menu options in here have been largely rearranged, hopefully grouped together in ways that make more sense. So if you're used to the LUMIX interface, it is a very familiar interface, but some things have moved, so it may take you a little while to find all the things that are in there that you want to find. With that said, we're going to go through these. I'm going to break these videos up into pages, each one of these pages, so 5 different, well, 4 of them, that's just a custom setting. So 4 different pages on here, there'll be 4 different videos. If they're extra long, I'll cut them up even more. Here we go. Notice at the top of the tab where it says, like right, let's kind of do this, right up there, it says image quality 1. That is the name of this page of menu items. So that's where I'm going to kind of call that out. So in here you have your focus styles, same we've seen before, but there are some cool things about focus styles that's new, but we're not going to see that until later. Metering mode. There's a new metering mode, but I don't fully understand it. It doesn't seem to be working the way I would think it would, so I don't fully get it. I need the manual. The manual doesn't exist yet. At least I don't have access to it. But it is this new system. It says optimize exposure of the subject for highlighted areas of the frame and measure the whole frame evenly. So I think what this means is a kind of a highlight priority metering mode. It's odd because the icon is a spot meter with a little star next to it, so that might be incorrect, but there is a new metering mode in here, something kind of interesting to see. Aspect ratio. This is so funny. So I picked up one of these for the first time and I went, oh, someone set it to 3:2. It should be 4:3. And then I went, wait a minute, no, it's full frame. Full frame is 3:2. So for those of you who are used to micro four thirds, it's a 4:3 ratio. Full frame, of course, is a 3:2 ratio, which is what this is. So that 3:2 is the full aspect ratio. You also have a new crop in here, the 65:24 crop, which gives you a super wide for doing stills. One of the neat things about shooting still photos on these cameras, same with the G Series, when you're shooting a crop, if you shoot JPEG, you're going to get the crop JPEG, but if you shoot RAW, when you load it up into Lightroom, the entire file is still there. It's just the crop that you chose in camera is already applied, but you can uncrop it or recrop it, which is neat. And the same thing, of course, applies here. Picture quality, same as before, fine, standard, raw plus fine, and so on. Picture size, you can do large, medium, and small, and this applies to the RAWs as well. So you can do smaller files if you don't want the full 46.5 megapixel, which is, incidentally is the highest resolution mirrorless DSLR in the world today. Woohoo, love that. HLG photo is new. I don't have any way to show that to you. Hybrid log gamma, it is an HDR type of file. You get extended dynamic range, but it does require a HLG compatible TV to view it. So it's nothing that I can show you over YouTube, but it's mo beta. That's kind of a cool thing. We'll talk about more about that at some point in a future show when I figure out a good way to show that to you. High resolution mode. The feature itself is not new, but there is a new mode in here. So you have two different modes, mode 1 and 2. Mode 1 is what we've always had. Mode 2 is a mode that accommodates for motion in the scene. If you've ever used the high resolution mode, you've known that if anything moves in the scene, it totally messes up the file. The reason for this is the way high res mode works is it takes 8, I think that's right, brain fart here, but I think it's right, 8 photos, and then essentially stitches them together, but it's not a 1, 2, 3 type of a picture. It is doing this barely little pixel shift, and it's a whole thing about getting the different photo sensors for each pixel exposed differently and shifting it all together and putting it together. I've done a whole video on that. Look for that on the channel. Anyway, what it does now in mode 2 is anything that moves, the camera obviously can detect that something has moved. It will then choose one of those frames and use that and scale up. Instead of rebuilding from moved pixels, it takes one set of those and scales those up to match the size of the rest of it. So anything that's moved will be slightly softer than the rest of it because it will have scaled it up. However, it will no longer be this weird pixely jumbled up mess. So you can do high-res pictures with moving subjects in there. It's not meant to be like, you know, the car driving by, but trees moving, stuff like that you can now do. Long exposure, nothing new in there, nothing new in any of this. Keep on going down. Autofocus settings, same as we had before. You have custom settings if you want them. Most people are just going to leave them in the default. Auto assist light. This is new. One area autofocus moving speed. So let me set this back to normal, and then I will do this. And as I move the focus point around, this is normal mode. So if you've used this before, that speed should look familiar to you. Now I can go into the menu and set that to fast, and now as I move this, it will move significantly faster. So you have a much higher speed movement for that. And again, I'll point out that you do now have diagonal movement as well, which is really, really neat. Okay, next up is see flash. So all the flash mode, nothing new in here, except to point out that you can access your wireless setup even though there's not a flash attached. No, it does not have wireless control built in. You still need to attach a controller, but you can access the setup controls from here. All right, photo settings, so bracketing, silent mode, nothing new there. Image stabilizer, there is a new function in here. You have off, the standard normal one, and then a new auto. So before, you had two stabilization modes. You had the main one, which stabilizes for up, down, and left and right movement. And then you had one that was only up, down movement. That was so if you're shooting panning stuff. Because the problem if you're shooting panning, the stabilizer, if it's set for the one that does all, and you're panning the shot, it doesn't know that you're trying to pan. It just thinks that you're being sloppy with your movement. And so what would happen is you would see your scene locked as the camera's moving, your frame is locked, and then it would suddenly snap over to catch up because you'd moved too far. You moved beyond the capabilities of the sensor shift. So if you're shooting something that was panning side to side, you would switch it into that mode that only does up-down detection, up-down stabilization. Now, instead of having a separate mode, it is simply a full-on or an auto mode. I would say 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to want to leave it in full auto because what this does now is it gives you full up, down, left, right until you start to pan and it goes, oh, you're actually panning now, and it turns off that side-to-side stabilization. Super, super nice. Let's see here, and stabilization, that's all. Boost IS for video, it's the same as it was before. I forget what it was called before, it's simply been renamed. What this basically is a even more solid stabilization for not moving. It's not for trying to hold handheld and moving slow kind of pans. It's more about just locking it as if it was on a tripod. It's like a virtual tripod mode. It's kind of crazy how stabilized it can get. Burst shot settings. When we did the hardware tour, I forgot to show you the dial on the back here, which is largely the same as the G9, that allows you to switch between your, here, we'll just do this right here. It's this guy here. So you have the switch right there to switch between. And if I put this up, you've got your single exposure. You have two presets, and just like on the G9, and then you have your time lapse and self timer mode. So these two modes here, 1 and 2, are programmable. Those are burst shot setting 1 and 2, so you can set them from low, medium, high, or the 6K/4K photo mode, so you can choose however you like for that. Shutter type auto, I don't think there's anything new in here. I'm pretty sure this is all the same as it's been. So auto, mechanical, electronic, front curtain, electronic, electronic plus noise. Actually, the electronic plus noise reduction might be new. This uses a black frame to do noise reduction. It's quite an interesting thing. So I haven't been able to play with this yet, but I do believe that's a new function in there. Shutter delay, nothing new in there. Self timer, nothing new in that. So, okay, that is everything on the main photo menu. So now we're going to switch over to the video menu. All right, did I miss anything here in the comments? Nope. Oh, Shark says, how does the stabilization work in the S1R? It's meant to be very unique, the way it tells you if your image is perfectly stabilized. Oh, we'll get to that. We will get to that. It's so cool. All right. Okay. Continuing on with the exploration of the menu system in the new LUMIX S1 and S1R, we're now looking at the video settings. So going up to the top of the video page, image quality. We'll start with exposure mode. So this is, again, a lot of the stuff we've seen before. This allows you to choose between, actually, let me switch the camera into the video mode. That'll make this make a little bit more sense. Switch between program, aperture, shutter, manual, so nothing new there. Photo styles, metering mode, ISO sensitivity, nothing new in here. This one, this is new, but I don't fully understand what it is. It's an auto exposure in the program mode. It basically says that it's still auto when you're in these other modes. I don't quite understand exactly what it means. I think this combined with this creative video combined set is a difference between whether your settings carry over from when you're in a still mode, just pushing the red video button on the back, versus switching into the full video mode. Not 100% sure though. That's going to take some more time to figure out and sort through. Record quality, let's take a quick look at what you have. So you have full 4K or Ultra HD up to 60p, so that's 420 8-bit, and then there's your 420 8-bit 30p, 420 8-bit 24p, 2398, and then full HD 1920 by 680 in 60p and 30p. You have the ability to do high-speed video. So again, this is like the G9, not the GH series cameras, but the G9 camera, where you have less control over your high-end video functions. Here you can shoot 180 frames per second up to full HD, or in full HD up to 180 frames per second, or 120 frames per second, 60p in 4K and 48p in 4K, or turn that off. File format, nothing there. Autofocus custom settings for video, nothing new in there. Sound record, is nothing new in those. Image HDMI record output just turns that on or off. Image stabilizer, yeah, nothing new in there. The Boost IS is simply a rename of what you had before, putting it into a kind of a tripod-like mode. And that is all there is to that. Now here's the last thing here that's really, really interesting. So a few people have asked about modifying or mounting alternate lenses on here. This is obviously a full frame camera requiring full frame lenses. I've already talked about how you can actually take even larger than full frame, medium format lenses and use a speed booster to magnify that, bring that down, fit that into full frame, just like we can take full frame and adapt it to micro four thirds and actually gain light output from it. You can do the same thing with larger lenses here. So you could take a medium format lens and adapt that to this camera using that. It's remarkable. But you can go the other way. So there, I'm assuming already are out there. I haven't seen them yet, but since the tech's already built into here, there's got to be something in existence. You can actually go to an APS-C size sensor space. So if you are using an APS-C size lens, which would vignette around the full sensor, you can tell this to push in and use an APS-C size sensor. Even more so, you can go down to pixel for pixel. So it's going to push in all the way. So if you're shooting 4K full HD, then you are going to be cropping off quite a bit, because you're actually starting with something closer to 6K, scaling to 4K, but you can push into 4K, or you can push all the way down to 1080p, which is going to really give you just the center, just the smallest part of the sensor, which in this case, maybe, theoretically, if someone was able to build an adapter to take older, smaller lenses and put them on there, maybe it would work. I'm guessing here at this point, but at least the camera is capable of using just a smaller portion of the sensor. And that is everything in there. So now we're going to move on to the next section. And now I'm going to have to plug in my power, because I can see the thing. I've got 2% left. Where did that cable go? Fun stuff. We'll plug this in and see what happens. So I think you'll see on there. No, you don't see it anymore. So I go into tethering mode. My battery dropped to 0%. Oof. USB power supplied from the connected device. Excellent. Okay, and I'm going to actually turn it off and just let it charge for a little. The LCD on the top says charging right now. It's kind of cool. Let's go to that so you can see that. There you go. So it says charging right now. So I'm just going to let that sit for a couple of minutes while we go through see what else is going on in the chat room. See if we can get a few more % on there, and then we'll go back. And I'm going to have to do the rest of this looking at the menu on the screen here, but that's okay. Excuse me. All right, let's go to here. Okay, Shark, we're going to hit that. Jason Steele, any difference between the video capabilities of the S1 and the S1R? There is a very slight difference in how 4K 60 is handled. And this is something that was explained. I took notes. I have to go back through my notes and really understand it. Where if my recollection is right, there could be a slight advantage, and I think it's pretty slight, but a slight advantage to the S1R for a low light 4K 60p shooting. I think that's right. Otherwise, they're largely the same. However, the S1 does have additional capabilities. Sorry I don't have all that stuff in front of me here. Those are things that have been listed in the press release. I talked about those in the last video that I did where I went through the whole press release. I don't have all those differences committed to memory right now though, so sorry about that. Bikeo saying the battery went down from 19% fast. It's because of the HDMI. It's because I'm HDMI outing. That's what I was doing earlier where I suddenly realized how quickly I was chewing through the battery. And again, I want to point out unfinished firmware, so battery battery performance could definitely improve. But it is largely because I was plugged into the HDMI. Jake, now how do I get an extra 5K into my bank account to order an S1 with a 51.4? Can't help you there, buddy. Wish I could. Wish I could. But if you figure it out, let me know. The battery is dying. Yep. I know. I'm not going to give this away at the end of the video. How did you know, Cape Cod? That's totally my plan. That would be the last thing I ever did for Panasonic. I can tell you that much right now. Shark says, is the Vlog purchased the same way as the GH5? No idea. No idea. One could assume so, but honestly, no idea. That's off in the future. Does the S1 have dual native ISO? No. No, that was a GH5S feature. That is not something that the S1 has. Okay, nothing there. All right, let's see here. We're just going to hope for the best here. PC storage. And there, oh, it is up. Gotta get the right screen up. There we go. We're gonna see that it's flashing 0. God, this is gonna be fun. I can do it like this. This is all right. So you're gonna see me looking there, but I can see the menu fully there. Okay, so we went through those. I'm gonna switch this out of video mode, just in case there's some extra still functions that show up. Okay, there we go, and we are going here. All right, let's do this thing. Picking up where we left off on the tour of the S Series menu system, we are again focusing on just what's new, what's different about this, and we are currently in the gear menu options. So, starting at the top under image quality, photo style settings. This is kind of cool, actually. So you go into this and you can show or hide certain photo styles. So if you, let's say, never use, I don't know, portrait, you can turn that off. That way, when you're scrolling through the photo styles, you don't have to scroll past the ones that you never, ever use. So that's kind of neat in here. As we keep going down, you see there's my photo style, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then look at this. There are actually up to 10 custom photo styles. From 5 onward has been disabled by default, but you can go in and turn those on so you can have up to 10 customized photo styles. I think that's kind of cool. You have under my photo style settings, this is new, you have the ability to add the sensitivity, so the ISO, or the white balance setting into a custom profile. So you can build a custom look that includes white balance and or ISO in the custom settings. Pretty neat in there. So that's a new thing that we've got added in here. And then load preset settings. This has to do with when it loads the preset, whether you turn the camera on or off or goes to sleep on or off, whether it reloads that preset. So instead of having to every time you switch the camera off, having it run back to a default, you can have it load up one of your settings, something like that. I know that's kind of a sketchy description because I think that's how it works, but I'm not 100% sure. Again, a lot of this stuff is completely new. Okay, ISO increments, nothing new in here. This is new, exposure offset adjustment. Love, love this. If you find whenever you're shooting in multimetering or spot metering or highlight weighted, whatever mode, that you're going, ooh, I tend to always underexpose by a third of a stop, or I always crank it up over a stop over. You can go in and say, whenever I'm using center weighted, always give me a value has no effect on the actual exposure compensation value. Excellent. A plus, what does that say, 2.6? I can't even read it. Two very small increments, 4, 6, 5, 6, 6, 1/6 stop increments, plus or minus 1 stop on there. So you can build that into the exposure compensation. Build that into the meter mode. That's kind of neat. I'm going to set that back to 0 on there. So you can choose that for those different modes. Let's see here. Focus, shutter priority, nothing new there. That's all same as it's always been. Manual focus guide, you can switch that between meters and feet. So this will actually show you, so let's do this. Let me go, because this is a new thing. I'll put it in feet, and let's look through the camera. And let me put this into manual focus. And let's see here, I need to get this menu off. There we go. There you go. Look down in the bottom right corner. You can see it's showing you your focus distance. So you can see that in inches or in meters if you want, feet or meters. So that's a new feature on there. That's kind of cool. Okay. Menu back up. There we go. Focus ring lock. You can disable the focus ring on there if you want to. Show or hide autofocus mode. So if you don't use all of these different autofocus modes, you can hide some of those. Just like with the color profiles, you can hide some of those. That's neat. So you can just kind of clean up your menus a little bit. Pinpoint and autofocus point scope, nothing new in there. Looped focus frame, this is all the same. Quick menu settings, a whole new quick menu. So you have control over the layout of this. Just to show you that new quick menu, let's go back to this view, pull that up. So what you're seeing on screen here is what you would see through the viewfinder, where you now still see your picture even as you run through these different quick menu settings. So it no longer takes over the entire screen, which is a nice new way of looking at things. Back out of there, back to that, and there we go. Lock lever, I told you about the lock lever when we did the hardware review. This is where you control what gets locked or not locked when you lock that lock lever. Say that 5 times fast. It's like a limerick. So the lock lever is on the back of the camera. You flip that over. What does it lock? You can have it lock any or all of these 5 functions on there. Function button settings, so we've seen this before. You just have some different options in here, but controlling what all the different buttons do on here, very, very, very programmable, which is just awesome. The FN lever, that's the lever on the front. Mine is set to go to the silent mode, so whenever I flip that, the camera goes into full silent mode. Let's see here, nothing new in here. Dial setting, illuminated buttons. So let's see here, this tells me what these are. So on mode is always on, so you can have the buttons always illuminated only when you touch the button on the top of the camera, or just not have them illuminated at all if that for some reason bugs you. But mode 2 is going to be the most common. Turn off, oops, bring that back up, turn off the help. And video button record, you can turn that on or off in the back. Okay, auto review, constant preview, nothing new in here. Photo grid line, framing outline, center marker, autofocus area display, all the same, all the same. Night mode, all still the same. We're going to get to one really, really cool here in a moment here. These are all things we've seen before. Blinking highlight, zebra pattern, HLG view assist. So if you're using the hybrid log gamma mode, I actually don't exactly know what it does to assist in your view. Sorry. But if you're shooting hybrid log gamma, you can turn the view on or off. Sorry. Okay, 2 new ones here, shear overlay and IS statoscope. So the shear overlay allows you to display a previously taken photo on screen with opacity so that you can line up another shot. So imagine, if you will, camera's on a tripod, you're shooting, I don't know, cameras, right? Let's say I'm going to do product photography of this camera, and I want to have the camera with a variety of different lenses on it. I can, as I swap lenses, I want to make sure that the camera is in the exact same position as it was before. I can load up a previous photo with opacity, and looking through the viewfinder or the LCD, I can realign that shot to make sure it's lined up perfectly. So that's kind of a neat function. The IS statoscope, though, this is the fun one. So I have, let's see here, it's just an on or off, right? There's no custom settings. So I have already set this into, let's go to the full view mode, set this into my menu, which I realize I can't get to because I can't access the touch, so let's just turn it on here. Turn that on. Ooh, maybe it's not going to work. All right, hold on a second. Iostoscope is on. I wonder if it's not working. No, it's HDMI. Why is it not working? Why is it not working? Oh, because I'll bet actual stabilization is turned off. That is why. So give me a moment here to find that. Let's see, camera mode. Oops, camera mode. Stabilizer. I probably just scrolled past it, didn't I? I do that all the time. I'm trying to go too fast when I'm doing these shows. Oh, you know what? I think it's in here. There we go. Framing outline. Good grief. Somebody tell me where stabilizing is. You know what? Probably should just do it this way. Is it in here? I have not programmed this the way I would want it set up yet, so it's not in there. Arg. Okay, come on. Come on. Where are we? I am looking for... We are in still photo mode. Resolution mode. Sorry, guys. It's in here. It's in here somewhere. That's flash. Definitely not in there. Image stabilizer. There we go. Yeah, it's off. That would explain why. Okay, let's go to auto. There we go. Now you got it. So I'm going to point it at something dark so you can see it a little more easily. Find something dark to point this at. There we go. There. Okay, so this is the scope. As soon as I push the button down halfway, you see this little guy bouncing around to show you how stable you are. So I can, it's like a video game, keep the dot within the circle. There you go. So now I'm holding it real steady. As I start to move the camera, you can see the stabilization dot all over the place. This is so fascinating. Just a couple different things for you here. So one, it'll show you how steady you are or are not when you're holding that and trying to be real steady and you think you're rock solid, but you're not. What it will also tell you, and I love this, if you put the camera on a tripod, you think, oh, it's on a tripod, it's stable. Not all tripods are made alike, right? And if you're doing a really long exposure, you want to make sure that that thing is super rock solid. So you could hook up a cable release, be able to push it halfway and see, without touching the camera, see if it is actually moving. Know that maybe you decide you need to put a sandbag on your camera, on your tripod. You've got maybe not such a great tripod, it's a windy day. How much is it actually affecting the shot? You can now see that in there. So this is just such a neat thing to be able to see that bouncing around. So here it's on the table, that's quite steady, right? But as I bump the table, oops, or as I take a picture, you can see the dot moving. Get back in there we go. As I move it a little bit, you see it moving in there. As I bump it, it moves. It's remarkable what it has in there. So that is just a really, really neat function. I like it so much that I've put it into one of the function buttons on the touch screen on the back so I can turn it on or off. It's just fascinating to be able to see. So kind of a cool feature in there. I love it. All right, back into the menus. Let's bring this back up. So that was, where were we? This is going to be a beast to edit together. I was in, there we go, iostoscope, that's where I just was. Okay, next up, lens focus resume and focus ring control. Okay, lens focus resume, so when you turn the camera off and back on, does it go back to the same position of focus? Here's one of the other really big ones I know a lot of you are excited about. Focus ring control. Non-linear, which is how it is by default, or linear. When it's linear, you can set it and you can choose the rotation of angle, the focus ring rotation, from 90 degrees up to 360. I'm not sure what the difference is between 360 and maximum. You can go even farther, don't know. But you can do a 360 degree and you can see the increments here down to 90. So what this means, again, for those who may not be wondering why this is a big deal, for anyone who's been using these LUMIX cameras with the LUMIX lenses knows the focus ring on here is what we call focus by wire, like drive by wire. There's no mechanical gears connecting this ring to the actual lens moving inside. It's all done by software. What this gives me is the ability to do a ramp on here to speed things up and have the focus go faster, slower. When I'm shooting stills, especially useful. I do a quick flip like this and suddenly it goes from the front to rear. If I go slowly, it moves really slowly so I can do really precise focusing. Very, very useful. But there are times where you don't want that. There are times where you want that to be linear, meaning if I move it this much, whether I move it slowly or move it quickly, it moves the focus the exact same amount, the exact same from, say, 1 foot to 5 foot or whatever it might be. With linear control in the software, we now have that. So whatever you rotate it, it's always the exact same. Then with the ability to choose from 90 to 360 degree rotation, that means let's say the camera's focused at the closest focusing distance, and I have it set to 90. From here, closest focusing, rotate it 90 degrees. Now I've gone to the farthest distance. So from here to here, I've done a full focus rack, all the way up to 360, where it has to go all the way around before it goes from nearest to farthest. So different levels of control, whether you're doing it by hand and you want that longer, smoother, or a faster control, or you're hooking it up to a follow focus system and you want to have that most likely to be a full 360 rotation. But again, you can change it and speed it up. Super, super exciting, cool feature in there. Very happy about that. And that is the last one in there. All right, that's the last feature on that. So now we're going to move into the last section on here, the wrench, the monkey wrench in there, and see what's hiding under that menu. Whew. All right, guys. Man, everything's still recording. We're still live. Man, this is a biggie. What did I miss? What did I miss? In the comments here. Does the S1R have multi-aspect ratio like the GH5S? No. No, that's unique to the GH5S. You can choose different aspect ratios, but it's not a true multi-aspect ratio sensor. Where are we? Okay, that was I covered that question. Or am I going to use the S1 once it becomes available? Yes. Would you be what would be the preferred use over the GH5, GS, G9 that you have? So for me, using this bigger camera is number one, studio. If I'm in the studio, why not? I don't care how big or small the camera is. May as well get the biggest, highest resolution, highest quality possible. Why not? If I'm doing something like landscape, big landscapes, I would want the S1R with a higher resolution. So if I wanted to have, be able to do massive prints or do extreme Photoshop work, having those extra pixels is always useful. Other than that, not much. I still love these guys. For me, I moved from full frame to micro four thirds because I like the smaller, lighter weight gear. As much as I would very much like to take this kit, the S1R and the 51.4, and that's it, and do some awesome trip and shoot just with this, just to see what I can do with it. I would much rather actually be out shooting with these little guys. So there's that. All right. Ben 5, does the S1 series camera use the same remote release cable connectors as the micro four thirds? Yes, it is the same. What is it? 1/8 inch. I think that's right. No, 16th. Whatever. It's the tiny little plug. Yes, it's the same one. It is the same one. Have I tried the linear focus setting? I've only played with it. I haven't done any like real use of it. Is that true? We were playing with something. We were playing with a focus rack during slow motion when we were on this trip. We did a little something. I played with it a little bit. Sorry, I don't have like a really good. I use it a whole bunch. It's insanely awesome. It works. I haven't pushed it to see. Sorry. That's a crappy answer, but there you go. Ben 5, focus distance display facility needs to be passed down to the GH5 and G9. There's a lot of things I'd love to see passed down. No idea what will or won't. Serge says, I'd like to get a few of those features on the GH5. Yep, me too. The battery doesn't seem to be charging. Does it power only through USB-C or is it also charging? I think it has to be off to charge. That is, I'm pretty sure how it works. You have to have the pass-through. I don't know why, but you have to have the battery in to pass through the power. And that's probably just a wiring electronics thing. But I don't believe it charges until you turn it off. Bikey says, did I miss 5 items? I don't know. Did I miss 5 items? I don't think so. I skipped a bunch of stuff that's not new. Oh, sorry. I should have had this up here. My bad. Where'd it go? Kelchi says, Panasonic has to be the most innovative company when it comes to user interface. Love those new features. Awesome. Thank you for hearing that. Only Vice with so much good stuff, it does make stuff a bit hard to find. I know. Yeah, believe me. I know. As you've seen me do. I'm fumbling around trying to find things. The stabilizer gauge is awesome. It is very, very cool. You can see the bouncing ball useful when shooting in windy conditions. Absolutely. Or on an unstable tripod. There you go. You got it. Will I take the S1R for my next India trip? I had no idea. I would have loved to have brought one on the last India trip, but there you go. Okay. Cape Cod's going to take it to China in April if they win the giveaway. Okay, you know I'm not giving one away, right? That was a joke, right? You know that, right? Just making sure. Okay. Last one. All right, here we go. And now we're into the last of the menu options on the new LUMIX S1 and S1R. We are with the gear menu here, the wrench, the gear, the wrench. Not the gear is the one above it. The wrench is the wrench menu. And starting at the top with the card format, we already saw this in the hardware overview, but of course you do, well, I guess I don't have any, oh, I guess, Oh, I guess I can't format the cards because it's tethered right now. Interesting. It's tethered for the power. Anyway, let's just start that over again because that was a really bad start and it's going to be terrible for the edit. I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to do that one more time. Just my prerogative. We're going to pick up where we left off with the menu exploration on the LUMIX S1 and S1R. We are into the wrench menu, and at the top we have the card options, starting off with card format, which I cannot select now, and I believe that's because I am connected, tethered to the computer, but it just allows you to format the cards as you would expect. Double card slot function, nothing new in here. You can define where you want your pictures and videos to go, to card 1 or card 2. The difference now being that one of those is SD, one of those is QXD. I think that's right. Otherwise, I don't think anything's different. Copyright information, I'm not sure if that was in, that might not actually be in the G series cameras. I think that might be different. Yeah, I don't think that's in there. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure you set it, set your name in there. Yeah, that is new. Awesome. Oh, I hadn't even noticed that before. Fantastic. Oops, love that. Okay, next up, power save mode, monitor frame rate. So this we had before, 30 and 60 for the monitor, but the LVF now goes up to 120 frames per second. It is so smooth looking through the viewfinder in here. Incredible, incredible. It does take more battery power. In fact, not that it matters at this point, but I could turn that down and save some juice. Monitor settings, monitor backlight, nothing there. Remaining battery level indicator. Some of you might have noticed before that you saw percentages on that battery level as it was declining to near zero while I was connected to everything, doing this demo all day long. That's new. Before we only had the actual bars on there, now we can do a percentage as well. It still doesn't show a percentage on the top LCD, that's only on the back LCD, but there you go. Oh, and now it really did shut down. All right, so now we're going to let it just charge a little bit, and then I'll have to pick up where that left off because it's like so no juice that it won't even go with the pass-through. Oops. I tried plugging it into the wall, and that didn't work. It gave me a not enough power message, and I don't know why. Again, unfinished firmware, so it probably has to do with that, but this is the only way that I can do this, and so now we're just going to let it charge for a little bit, see what happens. Shark says, why do you think Panasonic decided to put QXD rather than another SD card slot? QXD is very expensive cards. They are very expensive cards. QXD is there for kind of future-proofing. The QXD will be future compatible with, what is it, the new CF, something CF format, which is even faster still. It has to do with those faster write times. This becomes, interestingly, less important with the video now, but more important with the high-res photo mode. So if I'm shooting, this thing is 47, whatever, 0.5 or something megapixels, right? You fire off 10 frames on this thing, it takes some time to clear the buffer. And what I'm not going to do today, because again, we're not in our final firmware, but one of the things I will do once we have final firmware is I want to show you guys the differences between shooting to an older SD card, a new V60 rated card, and then a new V90 rated card for stills to see how much more quickly it clears the buffer. And then once I have some of those really fast QXD or whatever fast, CFast, that's what it is, not CF, CFast cards, then we'll see those yet again. And it's about clearing the buffer on those massive files. 4K 60p was clearly fast enough for the SD card slot with the V90 rated card, even the V60 rated cards, but you get into the really high frame rate, really high resolution stills, and it takes time to clear the buffer. So that is, I believe, part of what it is. Also, it's just, I think that's next generation, right? So we got both in here now. Sarah says, I like the fact we get to see your behind the scenes example. Let's retry this. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. It's live, baby, it's live. Become Magic, will there be another firmware update for the GH5? I have no idea. Will we get any of these new nice features on the G series? No idea. All right, let's see if I can turn this back on now. Let's see if it got enough juice. Just says no battery power remains. It's gonna be a bit of a bummer if I can't finish that up now, isn't it? Sony lost out on the mini disc. They're never going to make the mistake again. QXD is anything they can. That's funny. I'm just going to leave it be. It says charging. It's on now, but it says charging, but then it kind of comes up and it goes, just kidding. Darn. That was a big mistake. I really should have put that battery on. I just didn't even think about it until it literally, I think it was 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the show, and I went, yeah, 15 minutes before the show, and I went, oh my God, my battery's low. And then I was scrambling to figure out how to do the connection. Anyway. Car, I don't comment on rumors or speculation. Let's see here. I guess all we can do is just wait a few minutes. What else do you guys want to know? Now's your chance. What time is it? Oh, 3 o'clock. We're doing fine. We're doing fine. Still recording, still broadcasting. Oh, quality dipped a little bit a few minutes ago, but it came back. All right, excellent. Incidentally, I'm streaming dual streams. I'm streaming to the backup server on YouTube as well. So even if I see a little hiccup, hopefully you guys don't, which is kind of a cool thing that you can do. Okay, come on, give me. I just need a little bit more power. Can I? Oh, I probably have to turn the switch back to on. No battery power remains. I'm going to assume that it will charge faster in the. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I'm going to make an assumption that it will charge faster in the brick. Here's part of the interesting thing too. All I have for this charging brick has a USB-C. I don't know if there's going to be a USB-C to wall adapter. I don't know. I don't have a USB-C wall adapter. I do have, let's see here. Oh, here's what I got it plugged under here. One of the big fat iPad style power bricks. So I'm going to USB into that. Let me just plug that on there and let's let that go for a few minutes, see if I get some juice that way. Bummer. Jason and me word on adapting MFT Leica glass to the S1 S1R. So micro four thirds, again, very, very much smaller, only designed to cover 1/4 of the surface area of a full frame lens. So if it's technically possible, I don't know if it is, but if it is, you would have massive, massive vignetting. The camera does have technology to allow you to overcome that by cropping into just the pixel for pixel center part of the sensor. But even if it worked, you might even be limited by only being able to shoot HD. So it really is not something I would count on being particularly useful or beneficial. There's no flippy screen. Just notice there is a flippy screen. There is not a full articulating LCD. So it does this. It does this. It does this. Sorry, can you see that? Let's try that again. Let's try that again, shall we? I'll do a top view. I don't think I did that really on the top view before. So let's probably not snap the door off. Let's close that. There we go. Okay. It flips up like so. So that's that method. It will flip down. So that's that method. So you're seeing flipping down like that. It will, there's a little release on here, you flip that, and then it flips out this way as well. So if we look at the top down on there, you can see it's flipped out like so. And once it's there, it also tilts up and down too. What it doesn't do is flip all the way around. It's not a full articulating LCD. So just different type of panel. Shark, do I have the new LUMIX Pro service? As a matter of fact, I have brought this home with me to do an unboxing, but I'm not going to be able to do it today, so this will happen after I get back from WPPI. This is the LUMIX Pro kit. So this is what you get when you sign up for LUMIX Pro. I will get all the details because I need a checklist of everything in front of me because I don't have all that off the top of my head. But this is the kit that you get when you sign up. So I will show you in an unboxing what's actually inside of this. And the LUMIX Pro service is awesome. It's like your Canon Pro services, CPS, your Nikon Pro services, NPS. Now there's LPS, LUMIX Pro services. I will tell you one of the greatest benefits of it, other than the sending your stuff for free cleanings, is the emergency replacement around the world. So you can be traveling outside of your home country, have a problem, and I believe that the turnaround is supposed to be within 24 hours, get replacement gear on loan. Pretty awesome. So anyway, I will do that in a future show, but not today. Ben 5 says, presumably you don't drink from that mug when you're at home, or are you the boss at home? So my daughter, the story is my daughter got this for me for, I think, Father's Day or something. And the joke that I always say is, my daughter gave this to me and my wife said, you can take that to work. So, yeah. I like it because it's so big, it'd be almost impossible to knock over. Having a mug up here that I could knock over terrifies the crap out of me. So this one is big, squat, like it. Let's see here. Will there be a live show at NAB again this year, Bart asks. So interestingly, I actually have not committed to NAB yet. I was full on, I'm going. And then I started asking a bunch of other YouTubers that were there last year, and most people I've asked have said they're not going this year. Some have said they're undecided, but most have said they're not going. And one of the clients I did something for last year doesn't need my services this year, and Panasonic does not usually have me out there because the LUMIX presence is fairly small, and so they just staff it with employees. So I may not go this year, which would be a first and be a bit of a shame. But at the same token, I had so much travel the first part of this year, including the trip next week to WPPI, that I know my wife would be perfectly fine with that. So maybe not. We'll see. So maybe I won't be there this year. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's see here. Last questions, and then I'm going to grab the battery and see what happens. Is there some kind of adapter for the S Series like the GH5 with Metabones? Yes, yes, already existing, already on the market. You can buy, so it's the L mount. That's what this camera is. I've said S mount before because I'm obviously slightly befuddled in the brain. It's the L mount. There are L mount adapters on the market today for Canon and for Nikon lenses, and there's even a speed booster type adapter. It's not from Metabones, it's somewhere else. A speed booster type adapter to adapt Mamiya medium format lenses down to the full frame. That was cool. Full manual, but man, what a creamy look. That was a really, really neat thing to play with. So yes, those many adapters already exist on the market today. BKO, any reason they didn't do it fully articulating? Engineering decision. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Let's try this battery again. Let's see if it's got any actual juice this time. Fingers crossed, everybody. Fingers crossed that I got enough juice to finish the show. We only have one more menu page to go through. I don't think there's that much to look at in there, but let's see what it's got. Fire it up. What does she say? What's my percentage? It's on. It says 1%. Good grief. Okay, let me, hopefully that's enough, because that's kind of what I had last time while this was plugged in. And plug the HDMI in. I think it's a combination of all these things plugged into it that is definitely not helping the battery system here. USB power supplied. Yes, it is. Okay. Menu is back. Yes. All right, let's do it quick. Okay. Where were we? Remaining battery level percentage. We touched on that already. All right. Status LCD. Nothing new there. Eye sensor. Level gauge adjust. Nothing new there. Beeping. Headphone volume. USB connection type, battery information, nothing new there. Save to custom mode, load custom modes. Note those are your C settings. Save, restore camera settings, reset, clock set, time zone, pixel refresh, sensor cleaning. I don't think anything new in these. Online manual, which by the way, there isn't one there, so don't ask. Double card select function, we talked about that. File number reset, copyright information. That's where we were, wasn't it? You can embed copyright information in there. Oh, that's right, we have run full circle already. That's why. That's why we've already run. Oh, we did finish it. Okay, look at that. All that waiting, and I had like half a second left to go. And then your user menus. So there are 3 user menus here now. I kind of think 3 pages of them. Were there fewer before? I think there were fewer, maybe just 1 page that infinitely scrolled. I don't remember how much that is. But you have your full user controllable menus in there. So what that means is, and because this is great, because there's so many functions in here, so many different options. If there are ones that you go to regularly, but not so often that you feel like sacrificing one of your actual physical buttons to it, then you can put it into a My Settings page where you get to those settings more quickly, just a couple of taps instead of digging through the menu system and trying to remember where they are. So that's how that works. That, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Thank you very much. So if you are watching the edited version of this and you've gotten this far and you feel like you missed a lot of gaps in between, the version that was live that lasted almost 2 hours is still online. We'll put a link to that down below so you can check that out if you really want to see the whole thing behind the scenes, all the gritty, nitty gritty, dirty. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in. If you decide to buy one of these cameras, needless to say, please use my links down below. I would appreciate that. All right, guys, see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, guys who are here live, let's just see what else is here. Comments, and then we will be totally done. Shark says, shame you could not come to the UK for the BVE show. Biggest camera in the show. I think I used to go to that when I worked in a different company. Sure, Panasonic will be there. Yes, but okay, so Panasonic will be there undoubtedly, but that would be Panasonic Europe. So I work with Panasonic US. I am a global ambassador, but as far as I know, no foreign, what would you call it? No foreign office has yet requested someone from another office. They're quite like, these are our ambassadors and they do stuff for us type of a thing. But the hope is that that will eventually happen. I'm actually really hoping to do Photokina whenever that happens next. I don't think, is that this year or is that next year? I don't know. Anyway. Ooh, if it's next year, that might be a problem. So I'm going to do an India trip around that time. Anyway. Carr says, Jake's saying, I heard you can drop refresh rate of the EVF to save battery. Yes, and I actually mentioned that when that scrolled by. It was at 120 frames per second. I dropped it down to 60. That does save battery. I don't know if it would make a difference for what I'm doing here or not, but there you go. Carr says, what about remote control for the camera? Oh, yes. Okay, good. I'm glad you asked this. Does the Panasonic remote software app that controls the GH5 control this camera as well? So I think so, but there is a new app, not out yet, the camera's not out, so it doesn't have to be, that one of the supposed things it will do is allow you to shoot, with one touch, push a picture to your phone. Now, how well that will work with iOS, I don't know, because iOS is so compartmentalized about shutting down apps. Android, I would imagine that would work better on, but would probably chew through the battery pretty quickly. I don't know exactly how that works. We didn't get to see any of this. It's just one of those, there is a new app coming. That was it. That's all the information that I have. I believe, though, that the existing app works. I think the new app is just for this kind of quick off push of tethered shooting stuff. Either way, whether it's the existing app or a new app, yes, you will absolutely have the same control that you have with the GH5 and G9 over wireless. I know, it's a great feature, right? Absolutely love it. Shark says Photokina is 2019. May 8th. What? May? I'm definitely not going to Photokina then. Really? What happened to September? I don't understand these things. Okay. Well, thank you for telling me that. Definitely not going to Photokina. I would have been asked by now. Jeez. Yes, that's it. That is it, my friends. Hey, thanks for tuning in for so long. We had a pretty good live audience at some point here. We had up to 86 people. That's yeah, for that, that's pretty good. Now I've got a lot of slicing and dicing to do. I want to get all these uploaded as quickly as possible. I've got another live show tomorrow for software. I've got another live show that was supposed to be done last week that I couldn't do that I have to sneak in. And yeah, there's a lot. I got a lot to do. And then I leave for WPPI tomorrow night. Hoppa. Bakeo says, will it hurt Panasonic that they decided not to make it 100% flippy? I don't think so, because this is not... I see the flippy screen, a fully articulating LCD. I see two primary uses for the fully articulating LCD. One is the selfie/vlogging style. Huge for that. Absolutely huge. This is not a vlogger's camera. Now, obviously, you've got the Peter McKinnons of the world who decide shooting full frame on a, shooting a vlog with a 1DS Mark III or whatever, full frame is the way to go. Love Peter. That's nuts. But of course, now he's going to start vlogging with a red, so there you go. What are you going to do? Don't think too many people are going to be turned off by that for that reason. The one that bums me out personally isn't the vlogging, because I'm sure as heck I'm not going to vlog with this thing. I mean, if you're The Rock, sure, but not me. Is in studio use. I quite often will flip the LCD around, camera's on a tripod, and I'm over here setting something up while looking at the LCD. I can replicate that with the app, but obviously this is quicker. So that's one thing that I'll miss. Is that enough to hurt sales? I don't think so. Obviously, if it's desperate for you and you really, really want the camera and you got to have that front-facing LCD for whatever reason, you could obviously add an LCD. Heck, Sony people have been doing that forever. But I don't think it's going to hurt sales. I mean, it's a bummer for a lot of people. But that said, I have heard from maybe not as many people that were disappointed by the lack of a fully articulating LCD. I have heard from a lot of people that they're really glad to see this type of LCD. And one thing that I will point out that is nice about this type of LCD that I like, I shoot waist level a lot. So let's see if you're able to. So if I'm shooting, well, all right, let's shoot with the S camera. If I'm shooting waist level with this, obviously this just flips out and it's, here, it's waist level. And it even pulls out so it doesn't get blocked by the viewfinder here. So that just pops out a little bit. So this is great, right? That's really nice. And I like shooting waist level. This is just kind of a way I like to shoot a lot. If I'm shooting waist level with the G series, you don't have that. It has to flip around and be sticking out. Now, to be fair, I have adapted my style of shooting so that I hold the camera like this. So let's do a overhead view here. Let me actually zoom out a little bit. Oh, wrong dial. Come here. There we go. Okay. So what I do when I'm shooting is I hold the camera like this. So the LCD is protected. It's over my wrist here. This is how I shoot waist level. So the camera is being supported entirely by my left hand. That's just how I've adapted to shooting with this. But I do prefer having this for shooting waist level, and then that pops out like that. I do prefer shooting like this, but you can't have it all. So now if someone could design one that did that and that and that, that'd be cool. I don't know what that would take. Some massive feat of engineering. Who knows? But that'd be neat, but we don't have that. So, you know, you do what you do. Richard says there'll be no photo keynote in 2019, next is in 2020. Okay, getting conflicting information here. So it is 2020. If it's 2020, then maybe there was a chance that I'll go. That's what I thought. I didn't think it was this year. Shark was talking about, so Shark, the dates you were giving me must have been for 2020, not 2019. All right. Can you enable phantom power on the 1/8 inch mic jack, or do you need XLR? You can. Was that new? Is that not on the G9 and the GH5? You can. You can get phantom power out of the microphone jack. So, good. Will I do an image quality show comparing video and stills with the S1R and the GH5? Yeah. I mean, at some point, so unfortunately, because my WPPI presentation is in 2 days and I just got this camera, I don't have time to do a lot of comparison stuff for that. But yes, I will be doing comparisons between the two, because there are clearly advantages to the full frame, but there are clearly advantages to the Micro Four Thirds too. So it's going to be a very interesting thing to see which is better for what. But there you go. Yes. So yeah, I'll be doing that sort of thing. Photo keynote 2019 canceled. 2020. Yeah, that's what I thought. You did not say why the 50 was so big. Yeah, I did, Tech Checker. It's all about, the main thing was having that edge-to-edge sharpness, being the best optical quality possible. Most lenses, when they're wide open, have a fair amount of softness around the edges. The bigger and better that front element is, typically the less chance of that there is, because maybe you're not even using the very far edges of it. But this one is big enough that you, even wide open, you are getting virtually no sharpness drop-off. Very, very minimal sharpness drop-off. The MTF charts are incredible. So that's it. And that's good. All right. Cool. Cool, cool. Now it's time for me to knock this thing off. You guys like the new Do? Is this good? Is this good? It's different, right? It's funny because I don't know if you can hear that or not. I hear it because it's my head, but it's not totally smooth because I did this last night. It's so weird. Cape Cod says Panasonic said it was okay to give away the camera. Well, in that case, Cape Cod, you win. Just give me an address and I'll ship it out to you today. By the way, the shipping charge on that is $7,000, just FYI. Okay. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves. See you next time. Bye-bye.